I've always believed that the scariest things aren't the monsters under the bed, but the ones we carry inside us. That belief was just a quiet thought until the night I saw a stranger staring back at me from my own mirror, a stranger who wore my face but wasn't me. I'm sharing this story with you because it taught me something vital. Sometimes the unknown isn't out there. It's within us, waiting to be faced. And trust me, you'll want to hear this through to the end. It's a journey that changed me, and it might just change you too. It started when I moved into a creaky old house I'd inherited, an odd gift from a distant aunt I barely knew. The place had charm, with its warped wooden floors and dusty corners, but it felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for something. While poking around the attic, I found a mirror. Not just any mirror. This one was tall and narrow, framed in dark wood that twisted into strange, flowing shapes, like vines frozen mid-climb. The glass was flawless, almost too perfect for something so old. I hauled it downstairs and propped it against my bedroom wall, thinking it'd be a quirky addition. That first night, I caught something off. Brushing my teeth, I glanced at the mirror and froze. For a heartbeat, my reflection didn't match. I'd lifted my hand to my mouth, but the me in the glass stood still, staring straight ahead. I blinked, and it was gone. My reflection snapped back into place, mimicking me like it should. I laughed it off, blaming the dim light and a long day of unpacking. But a shiver crawled up my spine, and I couldn't shake it. The next morning, I studied the mirror again. My reflection was normal, tired eyes and all, but the room behind me looked wrong. The shadows were sharper, the corners darker, like the mirror was showing a version of my bedroom that didn't quite fit. I leaned closer, and that's when I saw it, a flicker of movement. Not me, but something else. A shape, vague and smoky, darted across the glass and vanished. I whipped around, heart thudding, but the room was empty. Just me and that mirror. Over the next few days, it got worse. I'd catch glimpses of that shape, always in the mirror, never behind me when I turned. It was tall, human-like, but blurred, as if it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. One night, I woke to a faint tapping, like fingernails on glass. The sound was coming from the mirror. I sat up, staring into the dark, and there it was, the figure, clearer now, standing right behind my reflection. My reflection, me, looked back with wide, terrified eyes, while the figure loomed silent and still. I yanked a blanket over the mirror and stumbled out of the room, sleeping on the couch with every light on. But here's the thing about fear. It doesn't let you hide for long. The next day, I uncovered the mirror, half expecting it to be normal again. Instead, the figure was waiting. This time it moved. It raised a hand, slow and deliberate, and pressed it against the inside of the glass. My reflection didn't move with it. Instead, it turned its head, my head, and looked right at me, lips trembling like it wanted to speak. I should have run then, but I didn't. I couldn't. Something about those eyes, my eyes, held me there. They weren't just scared, they were pleading like a part of me was trapped in that glass, begging for help. Now, before I go on, I want to say something to you all listening. I've been sharing stories like this because they matter. They're not just chills for the sake of it. Our channel's growing fast, faster than I ever dreamed, and it's because of you. If you're enjoying this, please subscribe. It'd mean the world to keep you with me on this ride. All right, back to it. That night, I couldn't sleep. The tapping came again, louder, insistent. I crept back to the bedroom, pulled the blanket off, and faced the mirror. The figure was closer, its hand still pressed to the glass, but now my reflection was gone. In its place was just the figure, staring at me with eyes that were mine but colder, emptier. Then it spoke, or at least I heard it, a whisper that slithered into my skull. Look closer. The room spun. I gripped the wall, fighting the urge to smash the mirror then and there. But smashing it felt like giving up, like letting whatever this was win. So I made a choice. I wasn't going to run. I was going to figure this out, what it was, why it was here, and why it wore my face. That's when I knew this wasn't just about a creepy mirror. This was about me, about something I'd been avoiding my whole life. And trust me, what came next only got stranger. I thought I knew fear, like when you hear a noise in the dark or watch a horror movie alone. But this was different. This fear wasn't just in my gut, it was in my bones, crawling under my skin. The mirror wasn't just showing me something, it was showing me to myself, and I didn't like what I saw. After that night, I tried to avoid the mirror. I covered it with a sheet, shoved it into the hallway, even considered tossing it in the trash. But something stopped me. It was like a splinter in my mind, nagging at me. I kept thinking about what the figure had whispered. Look closer. What did it mean? And why did it feel like it wasn't just talking about the mirror, but about me? I decided to dig into the mirror's history. Maybe there was a logical explanation, some old house, some old curse. My aunt had been a collector of odd things, so perhaps this was just another one of her weird finds. I rifled through the attic, searching for any clue about where the mirror came from. After hours of dust and dead ends, I found a small, leather-bound journal tucked behind a stack of boxes. It was my aunt's, filled with cramped handwriting and sketches. Most of it was mundane, notes on antiques, prices, dates. But then I found a page about the mirror. She'd bought it from an estate sale, from a family who'd lived in the house before her. There was a note scribbled in the margin. They say it shows you who you really are. But I don't believe in such things. Below that, in shakier handwriting, she'd added, I saw him again. He's not me. He can't be. My stomach dropped. He's not me. Was she talking about the figure? Had she seen it too? I flipped through the pages, but there was nothing else. Just a sudden stop, as if she'd given up writing altogether. I sat back, the journal heavy in my hands. This wasn't just a haunted mirror. It was something personal, something that latched onto whoever owned it. That night, I couldn't resist. I dragged the mirror back into my bedroom and uncovered it. The glass was dark, reflecting the dim light of my lamp. I stared at my reflection, waiting. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the edges of my face began to blur. My eyes darkened, my mouth twisted into a smile that wasn't mine. The figure was back, wearing my skin like a mask. I stepped closer, heart pounding. What do you want? I whispered. The figure tilted its head, mimicking me, but its eyes were wrong. Too wide, too bright. Then it spoke, its voice a distorted echo of my own. To show you. Show me what? I demanded, my voice shaking. The truth, it said. The part you hide. I stumbled back, tripping over my own feet. The room felt colder, the air thick with something I couldn't name. I wanted to smash the mirror, to end this nightmare, but I knew it wouldn't help. This wasn't about the mirror anymore. It was about me. About whatever it was trying to make me see. The next day, I tried to go about my life. Work, groceries, normal things, but the mirror haunted me. I'd catch myself glancing at reflective surfaces, half expecting to see the figure again. At the office, I avoided the bathroom mirrors. At home, I kept the lights on, but it didn't help. The fear was inside me now, gnawing at my thoughts. Then something strange happened. I started noticing changes in myself. Little things at first. I'd snap at a coworker for no reason, or find myself staring out the window, lost in dark thoughts. I'd always been a calm person, but now I felt on edge, like there was a storm brewing inside me. And the more I tried to ignore it, the worse it got. One evening, I came home to find the mirror uncovered. I was sure I'd left the sheet on it, but there it was, gleaming in the hallway. I froze, staring at my reflection. It looked normal, but I didn't trust it. I stepped closer, and that's when I saw it, a flicker of movement behind me. Not in the room, but in the mirror. The figure was there, standing in the background, watching. I spun around, but the hallway was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, the figure was gone. My reflection stared back, pale and shaken. But something was different. My eyes, they looked darker, almost like the figure's. I blinked, and they were normal again. Was I imagining it? Or was the mirror changing me somehow? That night, I had a dream. I was standing in front of the mirror, but instead of my reflection, I saw a version of myself I didn't recognize. This me was older, worn down, with hollow eyes and a bitter smile. He leaned forward and whispered, "This is who you'll become if you don't face it." I woke up in a cold sweat, the words echoing in my head. Face what? I wondered. What was I hiding from myself? I'd always thought I was a good person, flawed, sure, but who isn't? Yet the mirror seemed to suggest there was something darker, something I hadn't acknowledged. The next morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to run from this. I was going to confront it, whatever it was. I stood in front of the mirror and said, "Show me." The glass rippled like water, and the figure appeared, clearer than ever. It was me, but not me. Every fear, every doubt, every ugly thought I'd ever had, twisted into a shadowy version of myself. It stepped closer, pressing its hand against the glass, and for the first time, I didn't flinch. I raised my hand and pressed it against the mirror, meeting its gaze. That's when I felt it, a jolt, like electricity, coursing through me. The room spun, and suddenly, I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere dark and cold, with walls that seemed to close in. And standing before me was the figure, no longer in the mirror, but right there, face to face. It smiled, a slow, knowing smile, and said, "Welcome to the other side." I stood frozen, staring at the figure that now felt more real than anything I'd ever known. The air was thick, heavy with a silence that pressed against my ears. The room, or whatever this place was, had no windows, no doors, just endless shadows stretching in every direction. And there, right in front of me, was the figure, wearing my face like a twisted mask. It tilted its head, studying me with eyes that were mine but not mine. "You wanted to see," it said, its voice a low, gravelly echo of my own. "So look." I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "What is this place?" "This," it gestured around, "is where you've been hiding. Not from the world, but from yourself." I shook my head, confusion and fear knotting in my chest. "I don't understand." The figure stepped closer, and I fought the urge to back away. "You've spent your life running from the parts of you that you don't want to face. The anger, the doubt, the shame. You've buried them deep, but they don't disappear. They grow. They become me." I stared at it, my mind racing. Was this some kind of metaphor? A hallucination? Or something worse? "So you're what?" "My dark side." It smiled, a slow, unsettling grin. "I'm the part of you that you've refused to acknowledge. The part that's been waiting for you to look closer." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Why now? Why through the mirror? "Because the mirror doesn't lie," it said. "It shows what's really there, not what you want to see. And you've been avoiding the truth for too long." I took a shaky breath, trying to steady myself. "What truth?" The figure's smile faded, replaced by a look of cold seriousness. "That you're not as good as you think you are. That there's darkness in you, just like in everyone else. And until you face it, it will control you." I wanted to argue, to deny it, but something in its words rang true. I thought about the times I'd lost my temper, the moments of jealousy, the small cruelties I'd brushed off as nothing. I'd always told myself they didn't define me, that I was better than that. But maybe I wasn't. "So, what do I do?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "You face it," the figure said. "You accept that I'm part of you. And then you decide what to do with that knowledge." I nodded slowly, though I wasn't sure I fully understood. "And if I don't?" The figure's eyes darkened, and for a moment, I saw something terrifying, a glimpse of what it could become, what I could become, if I let it. "Then I'll take over, piece by piece, until there's nothing left of you but me." A shudder ran through me. "How do I face it?" The figure gestured to the shadows around us. "By walking through this place. By seeing what you've hidden." I looked around, the darkness seeming to pulse with a life of its own. "Alone." It shook its head. "I'll be with you. I am you, after all." With no other choice, I took a step forward, the figure falling in beside me. The shadows parted as we walked, revealing scenes from my life, memories I'd forgotten or chosen to ignore. There was the time I'd cheated on a test in school, the guilt gnawing at me even as I'd convinced myself it was no big deal. There was the argument with my best friend, the one that had ended our friendship, where I'd said things I couldn't take back. There was the moment I'd ignored a stranger in need, too wrapped up in my own problems to care. Each memory was a punch to the gut, a reminder of my flaws, my mistakes. And with each one, the figure would whisper, "This is part of you. Don't look away." It was excruciating, like peeling back layers of my own skin. But as we went deeper, something strange happened. The weight I'd been carrying, the shame, the regret, began to lift. It wasn't that the memories hurt less, it was that I was finally acknowledging them, accepting them as part of who I was. After what felt like hours, we stopped. The shadows cleared, revealing a single memory, a moment from my childhood. I was standing in front of my father, his face red with anger, yelling at me for something I couldn't even remember. I'd been terrified, small, powerless. And in that moment, I decided that I would never be like him, that I would be better. The figure turned to me. This is where it started. The fear of becoming him. The need to prove you're different. I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. I didn't want to be angry like him. I didn't want to hurt people. But in trying so hard to be good, the figure said, "You've denied the parts of you that are human, the parts that are messy, imperfect, and that denial has given me power." I wiped my eyes, understanding dawning. So, to take that power back, I have to accept all of me, the good and the bad. The figure nodded. Yes. Only then can you truly be whole. I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of clarity I hadn't expected. Okay, I'm ready. The figure smiled, but this time, it wasn't unsettling. It was almost relieved. Then let's go back. The shadows swirled around us, and suddenly, I was back in my bedroom, standing in front of the mirror. The figure was gone, and my reflection was just me again, tired, a little shaken, but whole. I reached out and touched the glass, half expecting it to ripple or change. But it was just a mirror now, nothing more. I let out a long breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. But as I turned to leave, something caught my eye. In the corner of the mirror, just for a second, I saw a flicker of movement, a shadow, darting out of sight. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. Was it still there? Or was it just my imagination? I shook my head, telling myself it was over. I'd faced my demons, accepted my flaws. The figure was gone. Or was it? I thought I'd won. I thought facing my darker self in that shadowy place had freed me. But as I stood in front of the mirror, watching that flicker of movement vanish, a gnawing doubt crept in. Was it really over? Or had I just opened a door I couldn't close? For the next few days, life felt almost normal. The mirror stayed in my bedroom, but it was just a mirror now, reflecting my face, my room, nothing more. I went back to work, caught up with friends, even started to laugh again. But there was a tension under my skin, a feeling that something was still watching, waiting. Then one evening, I noticed something odd. I was getting ready for bed, brushing my teeth, when I glanced at the mirror and saw my reflection blink, slowly, deliberately. While I stood still, I froze, toothpaste dripping from my mouth. My reflection smiled, a small, knowing smile, and then it was gone, back to normal. I told myself it was just my mind playing tricks. I was tired, stressed, but deep down I knew better. The figure wasn't gone. It was still there, lurking just beneath the surface. That night, I dreamed of the shadowy place again. But this time it was different. The figure wasn't guiding me. It was hiding, slipping through the darkness, always just out of sight. I called out, "Show yourself," but there was no answer, only the echo of my own voice. I woke up with a start, heart pounding. The room was dark, the mirror a looming shape in the corner. I fumbled for the light switch, and when the room lit up, everything looked normal. But the unease lingered. The next day, I decided to get rid of the mirror. I couldn't live like this, constantly on edge. I wrapped it in an old blanket and carried it to the garage, planning to take it to a thrift store or, better yet, a dumpster. But as I set it down, the blanket slipped, and I caught a glimpse of a glass. There, In the reflection was the figure staring back at me with cold, unblinking eyes. I dropped the mirror, and it shattered on the concrete floor, glass spraying everywhere. I stood there, breathing hard, staring at the broken pieces. Finally, it was over, or so I thought. That night, as I lay in bed, I heard a sound, a faint, scratching noise, like fingernails on glass. I sat up, listening. It was coming from the hallway. Hard in my throat, I crept out of bed and peered into the dark corridor. There, on the wall where the mirror had been, was a faint outline, like a shadow burned into the paint. And in the center of that shadow, two eyes stared back at me. I blinked, and they were gone. But the message was clear. The figure wasn't bound to the mirror. It was part of me now, and it wasn't going away. Panic set in. I couldn't escape it, because it was me. But then I remembered what the figure had said. Accept it, or it will control you. Maybe I hadn't fully accepted it. Maybe there was still a part of me resisting, trying to deny the darkness within. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. Okay, I whispered. I accept it. All of it. The air around me seemed to still, and for a moment, I felt a sense of peace. But then a voice, my voice, but colder, whispered back. Do you? I opened my eyes, and there it was, standing at the foot of my bed. The figure, solid and real, no longer confined to the mirror. It looked just like me, but its eyes were voids, empty and endless. You think acceptance is enough? It said, stepping closer. You think you can just say the words and make me go away? I scrambled back, pressing against the headboard. What do you want from me? I want you to understand. It said, its voice a hiss. I am you. Every choice you make, every thought you have, I'm there. You can't banish me. You can only choose how much power I have. I stared at it, my mind racing. So what? I'm supposed to live with you forever? It nodded. Yes. But you can choose to let me guide you or to keep me in check. The choice is yours. I felt a surge of anger. Why should I listen to you? You're just the worst parts of me. Am I? It asked, tilting its head. Or am I the part that tells the truth, that sees what you refuse to see? I hesitated, unsure. Maybe it was right. Maybe the darkness wasn't just evil. Maybe it was also insight, the ability to see the world as it really is, without the filters I'd built up. Fine, I said, my voice steadying. Then teach me. Show me how to live with you. The figure smiled, a genuine smile this time. That's all I ever wanted. Over the next few weeks, I began to notice changes. Not in the world, but in myself. I was more aware, more attuned to my own thoughts and actions. When I felt anger rising, I didn't push it down. I acknowledged it, understood it, and chose how to respond. When doubt crept in, I faced it head-on, rather than letting it fester. It wasn't easy. There were days when the darkness felt overwhelming, when I feared it would consume me. But each time, I remembered the figure's words, "You choose how much power I have." And slowly, I learned to balance it, to integrate it into who I was. One night, as I stood in front of a new mirror I'd bought, a plain, ordinary one, I looked at my reflection and saw just me. No figure, no shadow. But I knew it was still there, inside me, a part of me. And that was okay. I'd learned that the scariest things aren't the monsters outside, but the ones within. And by facing them, by accepting them, I'd taken away their power to control me. But as I turned off the light and climbed into bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that the story wasn't over. There was still something lurking, something I hadn't fully understood. And in the quiet of the night, I heard a faint whisper, like a breath against glass. Look closer. I sat up, heart pounding, and stared into the darkness. Was it my imagination? Or was there more to this journey than I'd realized? The whisper lingered in the air, faint but undeniable. Look closer. I sat up in bed, my heart racing, the darkness of the room pressing in around me. For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of movement in the new mirror, but when I turned on the light, it was just my own reflection staring back, wide-eyed, unsettled. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just the remnants of a bad dream. But the feeling wouldn't leave me. There was something unfinished, something I hadn't fully grasped. The figure had said I needed to accept it, to integrate it, and I thought I had. But maybe there was more to it. Maybe acceptance wasn't the end. Maybe it was just the beginning. The next morning, I decided to confront it head-on. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection, and said, "Show me what I need to see." At first, nothing happened. The glass remained still, my face unchanged. But then, slowly, the edges of my reflection began to blur, and the figure emerged, not as a separate entity, but as a shadow overlaying my own image. It was me, but with eyes that held a depth of knowledge I hadn't possessed before. "You're still here," I said, more to myself than to it. "I'll always be here," it replied, its voice a soft echo in my mind. "But now, you see me clearly. You know what I am." I nodded, understanding dawning. "You're not just my darkness. You're my truth, the parts of me I need to acknowledge to grow." The figure inclined its head. "Yes. And now that you've accepted me, you can choose how to use that truth." I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of empowerment. "So, what now?" "Now," it said, "you live. You make choices, knowing all of yourself, not just the parts you like." The shadow faded, and my reflection returned to normal. But I felt different, stronger, more whole. The fear that had gripped me for so long was gone, replaced by a quiet confidence. I knew that the darkness would always be there, but it no longer controlled me. I controlled it. Over the next few months, life took on a new rhythm. I was more present, more aware of my actions and their impact. I mended relationships I'd neglected, faced challenges I'd avoided, and even started to pursue dreams I'd long buried. The mirror in my bedroom remained just a mirror, a silent witness to my transformation. But one night, as I was getting ready for bed, I caught a glimpse of something in the glass, a fleeting image, not of the figure, but of someone else. It was a face I didn't recognize, pale and drawn, with eyes that seemed to plead for help. I blinked, and it was gone. I stared at the mirror, my pulse quickening. Was it starting again? Or was this something new? Curiosity piqued. I leaned closer, trying to see if the image would return. But the glass showed only my own reflection, calm and curious. Maybe it was just a trick of the light, I thought. Or perhaps a reminder that there are always more layers to uncover, more truths to face. I decided not to dwell on it. I'd learned that fear only has power if you let it. Instead, I smiled at my reflection and said, "Whatever comes, I'm ready." As I turned off the light and settled into bed, I felt a sense of peace. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. I'd faced my demons, accepted my flaws, and emerged stronger. And if there were more challenges ahead, I'd meet them head-on. But just as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard it again, the faintest whisper, like a breath against glass. "Look closer." This time, I didn't sit up. I didn't turn on the light. I simply closed my eyes and whispered back, "I will, when I'm ready." And with that, the whisper faded, leaving only silence.